Questions and comments. Questions et commentaires. The Honourable Member for Calgary Heritage.
The Prime Minister's 4 weeks in Parliament were filled with broken Liberal promises. Broken promises on spending, broken promises on the tax cut, broken promises on defense, broken promises on elbows up with the United States. The Prime Minister promised $800 in savings, a savings bonanza. Instead, the average Canadian only gets $90 this year. So did the Prime Minister mislead Canadians during the election? Is he misleading them now, or both?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, tax cut for 22 million Canadians by July 1st. Check. DST off of homes for first-time home buyers. Check. Government fully funded. The supply bills are passed off to the Senate. Check. Defense spending, 2% of GDP. Check. And today, Mr. Speaker, and I invite the honourable member to join us, the bill to build Canada strong, the bill to build jobs in this country, create opportunity right across this land. Check, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Heritage.
Listen, if their math are like their promises, we're in serious trouble. They promised to put more money in Canadians' pockets. It isn't $800 a year, it's $7 a month. Broken. Promised to rein in government spending. $26 billion in consultants. $1,400 in taxes for every Canadian household. Broken. He's promised to rein in inflation. Beef's up 34%. Baby formula up 9%. Apples up 18%. Broken. So was the Prime Minister misleading us in the campaign? Is he misleading us now, or both?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, at a time when Canadians are struggling, when we're fighting a trade war with one of our greatest traditionally allies, we have offered 22 million Canadians an income tax cut that's going to put more money in their pockets. What do the Conservatives do? Well, we're glad for once that they actually voted for that tax cut, which is fantastic. We know that they have a history of complaining in this House about affordability and then voting against every single measure that we put forward. At least finally they came to their senses and helped Canadians for once.
The Honourable Member for Cloverdale, Langley City.
It's been over 100 days, and this Prime Minister still hasn't set up an ethics screen to deal with his business interests. Just imagine a local school board trustee voting for a multi-million-dollar contract going to his business partner to build a school without telling anyone he's going to profit from it. Canadians would be outraged, and they should be. When will this Prime Minister show some basic ethics and stop treating public office like a private opportunity?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, this Prime Minister has a record of achievement in 100 days that would make anyone around the world blush. We've reduced taxes. We're creating opportunities for Canadians. We've committed to pass a bill by July 1st that is on track to getting done. This Prime Minister has also proactively filed all disclosures required under the most stringent code of ethics that exists almost anywhere in the world. Of course, the Prime Minister will meet his requirements under that code and will keep delivering for Canadians.
The member for Cloverdale, Langley City.
This Prime Minister just voted to ban gas-powered vehicles, adding up to $20,000 to the cost of a new car. Families are already drowning in bills, and now he's making it even harder to get to work or drop off the kids. Is it just a coincidence that Brookfield stands to profit off this mandate? And when will this Prime Minister stop treating public money like his personal investment portfolio and finally be transparent about the deals he stands to benefit from?
Yes. The Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. It's the first time I rise to answer a question. I thank the honourable member for asking my first question. And I ran because I wanted to fight for jobs in this country, and I wanted to fight to protect the climate in this country for my children and my children's children. Right. That's why we have building an electrical vehicle supply chain that is driving record investment in this economy that's going to protect our workers, not today, not tomorrow, but 7 generations ahead. And I'm thankful I'm on this side, and I look to you to look to the other side to work with us.
Le député de Montmorency.
The honourable member for Montmorency Charlevoix. Mr. Speaker, this is the last day in the House before Parliament shuts down for the summer, and the record is terrible. 4 weeks of broken promises by the Liberal government on spending, on tax cuts, on consultants, on national defense, and on our U.S. relations. The PBO says that the tax cuts are not going to be $800, but only $90. Why are the Liberals misleading Canadians? The Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, one thing's clear. The government is acting and acting swiftly. In less than 100 days, we've been able to do more than many previous governments. A tax cut for 22 million Canadians, the exemption on the GST for first-time home buyers, and of course, which the opposition, if they support us, a bill that is fundamental to support our workers, support our industries because of the trade war. And I hope that the opposition will be there to support it. The honourable member for Montmorency Charlevoix. Mr. Speaker, with my little experience in the House, what I do see is that the government likes to play smoke and mirrors. They promised to save $800 for Canadian families, but that was a broken promise because it's up to $800, not $800. It's all a matter of interpretation, apparently. But it would be good to have a budget. Will the Prime Minister finally take his responsibility seriously and table a budget? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, one thing is clear. Canadians know that we are there for them during this trade war, for our steel and aluminum workers, for our auto workers, for Canadians all across the country, because we know we have a role to play. And 22 million Canadians will benefit from a tax cut, and we will also be there to see to it that our country is built at a time when it's under attack. The honourable member for Côte-Nord. Mr. Speaker, the CSN adds its voice to the opposition to C5 and the imposition of energy projects on Quebecers. According to the CSN, the use of closure to pass C5, an anti-democratic maneuver supported by the Conservatives, opens the door to irreversible mistakes. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to repeat the question word for word, the question that troubles the CSN. If C5 is so good for workers, why not take the time to study it? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, Canada is facing a number of challenges, and above all, the trade war with the U.S., started by the U.S. What Quebecers are, what workers are telling me, and the unions are telling me, is that we need to take action. We need to quickly start building major national projects which will not only create jobs, but will also ensure that Quebec prospers not just today, but tomorrow and the decades to come. That's what we're doing with this bill. The honourable member for Côte-Nord. Mr. Speaker, the CSN joins its voice to the AFN. It even joins its voice to that of a few Liberals who, no doubt, prefer to remain silent. This bill allows environmental measures to be bypassed and allows almost all laws to be suspended by order in council. It's the most authoritarian bill since the Emergencies Act. Will the ministers who disagree have the courage to oppose this bill before it's too late? The Minister of Indigenous Services. Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to stand on this side of the House to ensure that the process of reconciliation will be put in action, because we're working in partnership with Indigenous peoples here in Canada. They will be engaged in a process that will be clear, serious, and determined by First Nations themselves. We are very open to giving everyone a seat at the table, and only this government can do that. The honourable member for Jonquière. Mr. Speaker, after the CSN, the AFN, and even some Liberals, Environmental groups are joining the ranks of those opposed to C5. Equiterre, Climate Action Network, Eco-Justice, the list goes on. To quote Greenpeace, Bill C5 would allow many environmental protections to be bypassed, silence communities, and trample the rights of Indigenous people in order to force through projects that will benefit multinational corporations. Mr. Speaker, everyone's saying the same thing to the Liberals. Study Bill 5 properly instead of forcing it through under closure. Will they finally listen? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, Canada is proud to be a leader when it comes to respecting environmental standards. We know and we can undertake important major national projects that will create jobs and opportunities without sacrificing our values, our environmental values, and our processes. But the fact is, Mr. Speaker, that it's time to take action, economic action. Things need to be sped up. We have to stop relying on overly long processes. It's time to speed things up and get things done.
The Prime Minister's first 4 weeks have been filled with broken promises on spending, consultants, defense spending, and relations with the U.S. Now the Parliamentary Budget Officer confirms that another broken promise, this time on tax cuts. He advises us that the average Canadian will save only $7.50 a month, and low-income seniors will save even less, under $5 a month, under the Liberal proposals. Perhaps it isn't a surprise the Prime Minister won't table a budget this spring, because so much of what he's saying now is so different from what he said during the election. So I'm curious, did the Prime Minister deliberately mislead Canadians during the election? Is he misleading them now, or is it both?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, our government received a strong mandate from the Canadian people to build Canada strong. What have we done in just 4 weeks? We've cut taxes for 22 million Canadians. We've helped secure our borders. We're breaking down internal trade barriers. We're fast-tracking major nation-building projects, and we've strengthened our ability to defend ourselves. That, to me, is strong leadership for a strong and independent Canada. While Conservatives bash, we will build. We'll continue to build with Canadians all across this great country. That's how you make the best country in the world even better.
Honourable Member for Lanark Frontenac.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is a broken record of broken promises, and the list keeps on growing. Broken promises on spending, and we still don't have a budget plan. Broken promises on consultants and also on consulting with Canadians. Broken promises to have his elbows up with the Americans, but instead what the Prime Minister has lifted is his middle finger to Canadians on affordability, inflation, and Liberal policies. Canadians need real change from the Prime Minister, not pocket change in tax cuts, not broken promises, not false hopes. Will the Prime Minister table a real budget plan this spring, or will he not?
Full Government House.
Mr. Speaker, that member is a member of long-standing, and I don't even think he believes the stuff that he was handed to me.
I agree completely.
The fact is that this is a transformational Prime Minister in a new government who is will be presenting a budget this fall, but has already delivered a spending program that was passed by this House, has already delivered a tax cut for 22 million Canadians that will save families up to $840 a year, and has reduced and taken off the GST on homes for first-time buyers, Mr. Speaker. That's progress.
The Honourable Member for Dufferin-Caledon.
What the member just said is just completely misleading to the Canadian public. The Parliamentary Budget Officer has said this big tax cut is actually going to deliver $15 a month. That's not transformational. That's not going to build anything. The average Canadian can buy a couple of coffees at Starbucks for $15 a month. So it's all talk, no action, realistically, from this government. The Prime Minister has broken 4 promises in 4 weeks of being the Prime Minister. That's not leadership. That's not transformational. That's misleading the Canadian public. So is misleading the Canadian public the new mantra for this, quote, new government?
The Honourable Secretary of State for the Canada Revenue Agency and Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, we are building the strongest economy in the G7. I'm not sure where the member opposite has been. We are cutting taxes for 22 million Canadians. We are permanently cutting the consumer carbon tax. We are cutting taxes for first-time homebuyers. Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives, sadly, are still stuck in the past. It's time to get on board or get out of the way. Thank you.
That's right.
The Honourable Member for Elmwood Transcona.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's first 4 weeks in Parliament were filled with broken promises. Broken promise on spending, broken promise on tax cut, broken promise on consultants, broken promise on defence, broken promise on elbows up with the U.S. The Parliamentary Budget Officer found the Liberals' tax cut will only save Canadians $90 this year and $190 next year. That is $15 per month, or about 4 cans of tuna. Did the Prime Minister mislead Canadians during this election? Is he misleading them now, or both?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, last week the Prime Minister announced a $9.3 billion investment in Canada's defence, which means we will achieve NATO's 2% target this fiscal year. This is not only an investment in our armed forces, but also an investment in good-paying jobs, in Canadian innovation, and in economic growth. Our generational investment in strengthening Canada's role as a strong, reliable international trading partner while rebuilding and rearming our forces here at home. It's unfortunate the Conservatives voted against it.
The Honourable Member for Riding Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, according to recent reports, hundreds of American doctors wanting to work in our hospitals are, in their words, quote, stuck in bureaucratic hell. Instead of serving Canadians, American doctors are blocked from working because they're trapped in licensing logjam. Nearly 7 million Canadians don't have a family doctor, yet government gatekeepers are blocking qualified doctors from working in Canada. When will the Liberal Health Minister introduce our Conservative Blue Seal program to recognize the credentials of international doctors so Canadians can get the care they need?
Exactly. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to Minister of Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, our colleague evidently read the article that was on the front pages of National Newswatch yesterday, but he didn't read it closely. Because what he would have seen if he did is that that issue is squarely in the provincial jurisdiction. We know that there are American doctors that are trying to come to Canada, leaving the United States. Of course, our healthcare system is in need of more doctors, but the issue is tangled in the bureaucracy in British Columbia. And so if he wants to bring matters to the House of Commons, that's very fine. It's a very good issue to raise, but the issue is misplaced. It's an issue of provincial jurisdiction.
La députée de Bellechasse-les-Sept-Chemins-Lévis.
The member for Bellechasse-les-Sept-Chemins-Lévis. Mr. Speaker, the financial watchdog, an officer of the House, has confirmed another broken promise by the Liberals, their so-called tax cut. Contrary to the $850 promised by the Prime Minister, the average Canadian will only save $90 this year, and seniors will get a paltry $4 a month. Did the Prime Minister lie during the election campaign? Is he lying now, or both? Before recognizing the government House Leader, that word used in the House causes disorder, so I would ask the member to withdraw that term. Yes, of course, Mr. Speaker. I meant to say misled. I would replace it with misled. The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, the facts are very straightforward, very simple. For all those who pay income tax, i.e. 22 million Canadians, there will be a tax cut from 15 to 14% on the tax rate. That will save $840 maximum for Canadian families. For those who pay income tax, they can save up to $840. Promise made, promise kept. The Honourable Member for Bellechasse. Well, it's as if they're calling the PBO a liar. But anyway, the Prime Minister's first 4 weeks in Parliament have been full of broken promises on spending, taxes, consultants, defence, and even on relations with the U.S. Meanwhile, Canadians are paying 14% more for rice, 18% more for apples, and even 34% more for beef. Will the Prime Minister finally table a budget that truly cuts taxes and reverses his inflationary policies? The Government House Leader. I repeat, Mr. Speaker, 22 million, i.e. everyone who pays income tax, will, as of July 1st, get a tax cut on their paychecks, on their wages, on their pensions, on their health care, on their education, on their schools, 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 on their pay stubs. It's a really good Canada Day gift. But the member opposite has opposed childcare places, dental care. She should focus on affordability and support us. The honourable member for Pierre Boucher Les Patriotes Verchères. Mr. Speaker, C5 perfectly sums up the approach of the new Liberal Prime Minister. He wants to force pipelines on Quebec. He wants to do this by order in council without going through Parliament. And he wants to be able to bypass almost all laws, also by order in council, in order to help developers. And he's going to do this all through closure, without debate or witnesses, with the support of the Conservatives, while the 44 Quebec Liberals burrow into the woodwork. Do they realize that this was all vote buying? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, I think it's important for the member to remember that we're in a trade war right now. Time is of the essence. There are aluminum workers in Quebec. And if he spoke to people in Ontario in the auto industry or in the steel industry, he would realize that time is of the essence. We need to take swift action. We need to work together to pass this bill so that we can build major infrastructure projects. And if he's still not convinced, he should talk to the Quebec Premier who supports this bill. The honourable member for Pierre Boucher Les Patriotes Verchères. In just 4 weeks, the Liberals have shown their true colours. Those colours are Pierre Poilievre with a red tie. Many Quebecers voted Liberal to be protected from the Conservatives. Yet here we are with a government that wants to rule by order in council and force pipelines on Quebec with C5. A government that stole $814 million from Quebecers to buy votes from Canadians. All this in just 4 weeks. That's the true colours of the Liberals. Do they realize that for many Quebecers, this is a two-faced government? The government House Leader. The Bloc is exaggerating so much, I think they're going to miss Saint Jean Baptiste. The fact is, time is of the essence. Urgent action was needed to respond to the trade war that was started by the U.S. And yes, there was an urgent need to respond to the provinces and other players like unions, investors, and so on. We needed to reduce the gap between Quebec and the rest of Canada. We needed to create jobs and opportunities, Mr. Speaker.
Nurse strangled unconscious. Vancouver police officers set on fire as they arrest a repeat offender. Victoria paramedic violently assaulted while attending an overdose call. Firefighter attacked with a machete while resuscitating an overdose victim. Manitoba nurse stabbed with a needle. Our first responders and healthcare workers are targeted, attacked, and face horrific abuse on a daily basis. And they're calling for bail reform. When will the Prime Minister end his failed drug policies and soft on crime laws and protect our frontline heroes?
Exactly. The Parliamentary Secretary to the Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
I want to thank the honourable member for his question. He's asked about this before. The fact is, fentanyl has torn through our communities and ripped through our families. And it is an incredibly serious issue, and I empathize with the people who've been lost. The fact is, we take this incredibly seriously. We're hiring 1,000 new RCMP officers, hiring 1,000 new CBSA officers to go after the bad guys and put them away.
Honourable member for Caribou Prince George.
They failed them for 10 years, and they're calling for bail reform. 10 years. 10 years, the Liberals have put criminals' rights before victims. Violent crime has surged 50% since 2015. The Liberals' reckless drug policies have turned our hospitals and our communities into war zones. Nurses, healthcare workers face horrific abuse every single shift, and first responders are assaulted and beaten while responding to calls for help. Violence is not part of their job description, and the responsibility lays squarely at the foot of this Prime Minister. He told Canadians he had a plan.
The Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I understand my colleague, and Canadians deserve to feel safe in their own communities, which is why we've committed to cracking down on repeat violent offenders even further in our platform. We will strengthen the criminal code and move aggressively to protect victims by making bail laws stricter for violent and organized crime, home invasion, car theft, and human trafficking. We were given a strong mandate, Mr. Speaker, from Canadians to be able to keep our communities safe, and that's exactly what we will do.
The honourable member for Regina, Wascana.
Mr. Speaker, last week alone, the Regina Police Service responded to 54 suspected overdoses, including 4 fatalities. According to multiple news reports, fentanyl is suspected in most, if not all, of these cases. The crisis has gotten so bad that the Provincial Ministry of Health has issued an overdose alert for Regina. When will these Liberals finally crack down on organized crime and their mass fentanyl production labs so we can finally get fentanyl off of our streets?
Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, fentanyl is causing destruction in our communities. C2 will toughen up the fight against fentanyl with significant steps to control precursor elements in the production of fentanyl. It will strengthen the police powers and the ability to search the mail. And we have also cracked down on terrorist entities. We'll always be there to protect Canadians.
Mr. Speaker, recently in my riding, friends and family of Lucas Lethbridge came together in memory of his tragic death due to overdose. I, for one, have lost more friends from addiction than any other cause. My question today comes directly from Lucas's father, and his question is, why, Mr. Speaker, does a fentanyl dealer selling cocaine secretly laced with fentanyl get to continue killing vulnerable Canadians in our communities rather than getting locked up for life?
The Parliamentary Secretary to the Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Well, first of all, Mr. Speaker, I want to portray my condolences to the honourable member and the people lost in his community. As I mentioned earlier, the fact is the global rise of fentanyl has ripped through our communities and our families and is completely unacceptable. And we've listed 7 cartels as terrorist entities under the criminal code. To combat that, we are hiring 1,000 new RCMP officers, 1,000 new CBSA officers to go after the bad guys and put them away.
The member for Cullerton, Malhat, Langford.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Attorney General stated the Liberals will bring forward multiple changes to their catch and release laws in the fall, effectively admitting C-75 is a failure. Yet the same day, the Secretary of State for Combating Crime blamed the provinces for releasing violent repeat offenders. 2 years ago, my own daughter watched as her boyfriend Johnny was murdered in Victoria, stabbed to death by a violent repeat offender who was out on bail for attempted murder not 3 weeks earlier. When will the Liberals protect Canadians like Johnny, actually take action, and cancel failed Bill C-75? Thank you.
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, I feel for the members opposite situation. There are mandatory minimums when it comes to certain offences committed with firearms relating to some of the crimes. There are maximum amounts of sentences for repeated offenders of 7 years. Mr. Speaker, we take these issues very seriously, and we will be working towards reforms in the coming months. Thank you.
The honourable member for Spadina, Harbourfront.
Mr. Speaker, Canadian steel and aluminum is the best in the world, and our workers in those vital industries are second to none. We know, however, that these vital sectors are facing very serious threats as a result of unjustified and illegal American tariffs. Can the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance and National Revenue update this House on how the government is supporting our world-class steel and aluminum producers during these turbulent times?
Well, Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member for Spadina Harbourfront for the great question. Canadian steel and aluminum is going to help build the strongest economy in the G7, Mr. Speaker, and while we continue to aim For a negotiated agreement with the United States, we are taking strong action to respond to the illegal and unjustified American tariffs to protect the integrity of our sectors. Yesterday, we announced targeted measures including adjusted counter tariffs, new tariff rate quotas, and a $10 billion large enterprise tariff loan facility. These measures will help our steel and aluminum.
Honourable member for Parry Sound Muskoka.
This Liberal government's own housing agency has given up on the concept of housing affordability. They reported that Canada needs to build 480,000 homes a year to restore affordability, something the TD Bank says is impossible. Earlier this week, the latest housing minister boasted that he was on pace for 280,000 starts this year, and he plans for 500,000 a year. In the GTA and the Lower Mainland, the bulk of our housing market, starts have gone off a cliff. So the question is simple. If we are to take the minister at his word, where are the other 200,000 units coming from?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Housing and Infrastructure. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Listen, unlike everything that we're hearing from the other side of the House, we are working very hard. There is an action plan for affordability, which is at the heart of Build Canada Homes. We're going to build more social housing to support low and middle income families. We have the most ambitious plan in decades. We've committed to build twice as much housing, and we will do that with Canadian innovation, with Canadian labour, with Canadian materials. That is how we are building the Canada of tomorrow, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Parry Sound Muskoka.
Well, it sounds like more bureaucracy. I'll give you an example of Ottawa bureaucracy. Here in this city of Ottawa, the federal government closed their training centre. 9 years later, they finally sold that training centre to their own federal housing developer at market price. Then it took the federal developer 5 years and 79 different reports at the City Planning Department to deal with the neighbours and the local Liberal MP who tried to block the redevelopment. Construction finally started, so 16 years for the federal government to turn their land using their developer into 1,100 desperately needed homes. Why does this government think that more bureaucracy is the solution?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Government Transformation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And our new government is committed to ensuring that federal procurement is conducted in an open, fair, and transparent manner. When it comes to the situation in question, Mr. Speaker, I would point to the investment that our government made most recently through the Housing Accelerator Fund here in the City of Ottawa. This is our commitment to work with municipalities to ensure that we get the housing built that we need. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Hastings, Lennox and Addington, Tyendinaga.
Under this government's watch, the housing crisis has reached an unprecedented precipice, and no amount of recycled ministers will hide the fact that this Liberal government is responsible. The CMHC's own numbers have declared the death of housing affordability across this nation. And this government's solution? Appoint a minister who, as Mayor of Vancouver, was responsible for one of the worst housing and affordability epidemics we have ever seen. Mr. Speaker, will they just simply stop talking about the housing crisis that exploded under their watch and actually do something about it?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Housing.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
There is a housing crisis. This is why the government is getting back in the business of building. This is why we will power innovation with modular, prefabricated home. We will do it by reducing red tape, by increasing efficiency and streamlining operation. We will do it at a very fast speed. This is what we promise Canadians, and this is what we will deliver. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
The member for Hastings, Lennox and Addington and Tyendinaga.
Mr. Speaker, the best time for action was now, not 10 years ago, now. Mr. Speaker, they have consistently realized that with responsibility comes an extraordinarily amount of... I'm going to start this again. Whoa! Mr. Speaker, given the fact that this government agency said Canada needs to double down with construction to restore affordability, will this government get out of the way and recognize...
The Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Merci, Monsieur.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'd like to invite the colleague to read the Liberal platform. We made major commitments to change government operations. We got to work right after the election, and the implementation of Build Canada Homes is going to facilitate and accelerate the construction of housing. That's what Canadians need. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Vernon Lake Country, Monashee.
Mr. Speaker, in communities across the North Okanagan, families are being pushed out of the housing market. Young people can't afford to buy, and seniors are being forced out of the communities that they themselves built. Meanwhile, this Liberal government still has no budget, no plan, no urgency. While young families and seniors are begging for the Liberals to get housing built, this Prime Minister, much like the last one, is more focused on political optics than shovels in the ground. When will this Liberal government stop dragging its feet, deliver a budget, and finally take responsibility for the housing crisis it helped create?
The Government House Leader.
Speaker, we came to office and the first thing we did was take the GST off of new homes for first-time home buyers. This government has proposed a series of measures beginning with the National Housing Strategy back in 2018. These measures have been measures, this member was not here, but they have opposed every single one, whether it's affordable housing, whether it's social housing, every single housing initiative put forward by this government and every single plan that my honourable colleague described, they are against. Where is their housing plan, Mr. Speaker?
The member for Flamborough, Glanbrook, Brent North.
Under these Liberals, Canadians are being forced to skip meals to just pay the rent. A new report from Royal LePage shows that 39% of Ontario renters are cutting back on food and essentials just to stay housed. Even the CMHC is waving the white flag, admitting its own housing targets aren't possible under this Liberal government. This is what failure looks like. Unaffordable housing, stalled construction, and Canadians falling further behind. With alarm bells ringing all over the place, when will the Liberals finally admit that their housing plan isn't working?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, when you exploit people's hardship and vulnerability for political gain, when you base your political hopes on the failure of the economy, and when you dismiss the potential of Canadian innovation to solve the challenges that we face, as Conservatives do every day in this House, you're not just betting against our government, Mr. Speaker, you're betting against Canadians. On this side of the House, we'll bet on Canadians every single day. Why? Because we know they will overcome the greatest challenges we face.
The member for Yellowhead.
Years of poor forest management contributed to fires that devastated a third of the homes in Jasper last year. Parks Canada red tape, controlled by this Liberal government, is delaying construction of new homes. Their process has just exacerbated the housing crisis in the region. Despite the Liberal government allocating $160 million, their solution seems to be treating Jasperites like inmates and house them in ATCO trailers like a remote work camp. Is this Liberal solution to housing shortages to put people in sea camps for storage?
There you go. The Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, they're now really reaching. They are accusing the government of not living up to its responsibilities for conservation or responsibilities to national parks in this country. This government has prided itself as coming to the aid of communities, whether it be at housing assistance and any other kind of assistance. We've had a devastating wildfire season provoked in no small part due to the climate change that we're experiencing, Mr. Speaker. This government will continue to respond to Canadians' needs for housing and for good management.
The Deputy.
The Honourable Member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, it's now been documented by Radio-Canada. In Chaudière-Appalaches, the price of homes has exploded by 46% since 2021. 46%! That's a huge increase since 2021, Mr. Speaker. It doesn't make any sense. I asked a question to the Minister of Housing about the most important program for homes in his department. He wasn't able to answer it, and he didn't even know what the program was. That's really concerning. Mr. Speaker, I'm new here, but I'd like to know, does the Minister of Housing actually take care of housing?
Secrétaire parlementaire du ministre du Logement.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Housing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As my colleague mentioned earlier, we have a national strategy for housing. We are going to double the construction of new homes. And to my colleague, we have an agreement, a historic agreement with Quebec on the Housing Accelerator Fund. We've put $900 million into that. Quebec has done the same. There are homes that are being built. There are real people living in those new homes right now. So we are acting. We've already started acting. We will continue to do that. As I said, innovation, Canadian lumber, and Canadian workers. We have a plan, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, once again and once again, empty words, Mr. Speaker. I've been here for 4 weeks, and people have elected us to ask questions, Liberals, to hold them to account for the people of Beauce. They're not answering our questions. They're laughing in our faces. That's a lack of respect. We're trying to be polite. We're trying to be respectful, but they still answer us with the same empty words, Mr. Speaker. It's disappointing. The price of homes continues to go up. The Minister of Housing is supposed to be building more homes. It's easy, Mr. Speaker. Is the Minister of Housing able to do his job, yes or no? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Well, I would like to thank my colleague for the question. His questions are pertinent, and our goal is to work with him through, among other things, Build Canada Homes, so that we can help companies in Beauce that are building prefabricated homes and that can help meet the minister's goal and the government's goal for housing. We want to work with them, so it'll be a pleasure for me to work with him. We need to create jobs. We need to build homes.
The member for Prescott Russell Cumberland.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, our aerospace industry is an example of Canada's entrepreneurial spirit. The unjustified tariffs are creating uncertainty for our businesses, so it's more important than ever that we support our aerospace sector. Can the Minister of Industry, Science and Innovation please update this House on her visit to the Bourget Air Show, where she represented Canadian industry? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank my colleague from Prescott Russell Cumberland for her excellent question and for her excellent work. Canada has great strength when it comes to aerospace, but we need to go even further, Mr. Speaker. We need to do more to help industry, and at the Bourget Air Show, we got good news, an order of 40 Airbus A220 airplanes by LOT Airlines from Poland. Those are airplanes that are going to be built at Mirabel in Quebec. Air France is also buying global airplanes from Bombardier. We're going to create jobs. We're going to continue to strengthen the aerospace sector.
For Red Deer.
Mr. Speaker, after a decade of Liberal anti-energy policies that drive out investment and plunge business confidence down, even the Liberal House Leader admits on TV that this government can't get anything built. Despite years of defending Trudeau's actions, Canadians want to see projects growing and energy flowing. But until destructive Liberal laws like C-69 are gone, it's just more empty promises. If the Prime Minister wants Canadians to believe anything he says, then he'll fully repeal anti-energy laws and get pipelines built.
Hear, hear. The Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, we will present the members opposite an opportunity to build. We will present the One Canadian Economy Bill, which will rapidly advance projects of national interest and build one economy, not 13. The bill will grow the economy and make Canada the strongest economy in the G7. We would hope you'll join us in voting for this.
The Honourable Member for Swift Current, Grasslands, Kindersley.
Mr. Speaker, Canadian farmers work hard to feed the world, but they're taking losses from trade barriers imposed by China. Saskatchewan normally exports close to $1 billion in peas to them, and thanks to an action by the Liberal Prime Minister, our exports are dropping. Saskatchewan farmers have already lost out on half of our pea exports to China, and now there is a 100% tariff on the rest. The Prime Minister promised to be different on trade than Justin Trudeau, so why is he still doing nothing to help our farmers out?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have an immense responsibility to address these challenges. We're in a triangulation trade war with 2 other countries, Mr. Speaker. We're doing everything possible to keep the lines of communication open, and we'll continue to do that. Mr. Speaker, we're investing in farmers. We're investing in ag stability. We're investing in ag marketing. We're continuing to do everything we can. I had the opportunity to visit the honourable members the Prairie provinces last weekend to speak firsthand to farmers. We've got some of the best farmers in the world on cutting edge of technology. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member for Thornhill.
The Iranian regime is collapsing and its thugs are already eyeing Canada. After 10 years of weak Liberal national security laws, this country has become a safe haven for IRGC terrorists. Hundreds live here, they operate here, they fundraise here, they intimidate Canadians here, and they do it all without consequence. I'll ask the Minister, how many more terrorists have to come to Canada before they put into law the foreign agents, or before they introduce the foreign registry they put into law last year? How many?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Secretary of State to comment on crime.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard is a designated terrorist organization. If there are people here who are connected to that terrorist regime, they are here illegally, which means we're going to find them, we're going to arrest them, and we're going to deport them.
The honourable member for Pierrefonds-Dollard.
Mr. Speaker, tomorrow is National Indigenous Peoples Day. Every June 21st, Canadians take the time to reflect on our past. We also celebrate the significant contributions of the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people from coast to coast to coast. After generations of pain and suffering, our country has chosen to deliberately walk on the path of reconciliation. We also must do this together. Can the Indigenous Services Minister reflect on the importance of National Indigenous Peoples Day here in Canada and across Turtle Island?
The Honourable Minister of Indigenous Services.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the member from Pierrefonds-Dollard for this important question. National Indigenous Day is a time for us to celebrate First Nations people, Métis, Inuit, Indigenous communities with each their own culture, identity, and languages. In addition, Mr. Speaker, I am honored to be the first Indigenous minister leading Indigenous services to serve Indigenous people in this community from somebody who understands their reality and can speak with them directly one-on-one with respect to their culture and identity. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Kitchener South Hespeler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. An alarming report in the Canadian Medical Association Journal shows that 1 in 3 Canadian children will be overweight or obese on their 18th birthday. This is not a cosmetic concern. Those children who are obese on their 18th birthday are tragically 3 times less likely to live to see their 30th. Obviously, no child chooses to have this disease. Every case is a social and environmental failure. So I ask the Liberal government, do they have any plan at all to remediate these policy failures for our children in this Parliament?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the member opposite. We both sit on the Health Committee, so I look forward to work with him on this very important issue. Mr. Speaker, the health and safety in Canadians is our top priority for this new government, and we will put in every measure possible. We will work with provinces and territories to make sure we have the support for children with diabetes, and I look forward to working with the member opposite on this very important issue.
The Honourable Member for Vancouver Kingsway.
We Democrats want to build our economy and create family-sustaining jobs, but it must be done right. Today, the Liberals and Conservatives are ramming Bill C-5 through Parliament with shockingly little debate or public input. This bill creates Henry VIII powers, letting the Prime Minister override laws by decree. It guts environmental protections, undermines workers, and threatens Indigenous rights. This bill will end up in court. Why is this government violating democratic values and risking critical economic projects by tactics from Donald Trump's playbook?
Bravo. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there is lots of support in this country for this brilliant piece of legislation that will create one economy, not 13, will move us towards creating great national projects that will create jobs. And I would invite the leader, I know he will stand with me and with the men and women in Canada's labour movement who have stood up day after day after day after day to support this legislation, to say this will create jobs, this will create opportunity for the skilled trades, this will create a future for me and my children. Will he stand with those unions? Will he stand for Canada?
The Honourable Member for Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie. Mr. Speaker, today is World Refugee Day, and it's the trist reality for 43 million people around the world. And yet, the Liberal government is doing the opposite of what should be done by making our by putting the military at our borders like Trump is doing instead of showing solidarity with refugees. Liberal rhetoric is dangerous, but the NDP is clear. Anybody who comes to our borders seeking a safe haven must be heard with respect and humanity. Why is the Prime Minister, who was elected as an anti-Trump, why is he copying Trump's worst ideas and attacking the rights of refugees and asylum seekers? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, our Safe Borders Act will fight against organized crime, but at the same time, it offers important guarantees. Guarantees which will work well to ensure to make our communities safer, but offer the necessary guarantees to people who are coming to our borders and who have right to respect of their rights.
That is the end of question period. Ceci met fin à la période des questions.